US Chapter 17, Section 2, A Society on the Move. What were the social and economic factors that changed American life during the 1950s? We'll look at the rise of the suburbs, the growth of the Sun Belt, and then changes in the U.S. economy and education during this post-war period. So one of the things that is going to change is suburbs. So when you look at a couple different factors, one is the GI Bill. So because the GI Bill allows veterans to get access to these low interest loans, what they're going to do is they're going to look to build homes. And what's happening at this time too is there's a number of people, and Levitt is one of these individuals who kind of realizes the opportunity here. He creates one of the first suburbs, and what you see on the left there is pictures of the 4 different kinds of homes that you could purchase in Levittown. And what this enables Levitt to do is to quickly build all of these homes because he's got 4 different models, and so construction workers can easily and quickly put up all these homes. And then what you're going to get on the right is these very first suburbs. Highway construction is going to also impact this because now people can get to and from the big city and go back to the suburbs at night, and you have more green space, it's cleaner, it's more open, there's parks, all this stuff is going to factor into the move to the suburbs. Because of the suburbs, then you're also going to see Americans buying more and more cars because they want to be able to commute to and from. But then the other factor there too is with the highway system and the interstate highway system, it's just easier to do. And it's going to lead to all kinds of other things. For example, the vacation industry, all that's going to pop up. And then we get to the very first shopping malls too, and that's what that picture is. 1956, I believe, was the first shopping mall, and this is a still picture from one of the films taken of this very first shopping mall being opened. And the interstate highway system, it was a defense system initially to be able to get people in and out of big cities, to be able to get things across the country quickly, and it's going to really boost all kinds of travel and vacation industries because now it's much easier for people, quicker I should say, to be able to travel across the country and go and see some of these sites that maybe they hadn't really thought of seeing before. When we look at the Sun Belt, this is going to be people moving from the north and the east to the south and the west. When we look at some of the reasons behind it, one is the warmer climate. The other thing is post-World War II, or during the war, and then after World War II, this is the area that's going to see the most expansion in job growth. So the West Coast is going to be technology. You're going to see manufacturing in the South. And so these people are going to leave the North and the East and move to the Sun Belt for job opportunities. You've also got air conditioning becomes more widely available, which helps you deal with the hot climate. And then you also have Latino population growth. So for example, from Cuba, you're going to see a lot of people fleeing when Fidel Castro takes over, and they're going to move and settle into Florida. You're going to see other Latino groups moving from Central and South America to the southern part of the United States. And this is a trend that's continued. That's what this graph over here shows, is this is 2013, and the Sun Belt continues to experience the most growth in the United States. So when we look at some of the impacts, is both from the standpoint of suburbs and from the Sun Belt. As people are moving from the inner city to the suburbs, or as people are moving from the north and the east to the south and the west, political power is going to go with them, because what's going to happen is as they do this census data, they're going to redraw districts, and the places that are experiencing the most growth are going to get the most representatives. And those people that are experiencing the most loss are going to lose the most representatives. And so all of a sudden, especially the inner city and the Northeast, aren't going to be nearly as politically powerful as they once were. The other thing you're going to have with that is environmental concerns. So, for example, Los Angeles, when you have this huge boom in population, there's also going to be a boom in like smog and pollution and water and traffic and all those other things. And now the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to see athletic franchises go to the Sun Belt. So the map on the right, the orange shows where the Major League Baseball teams were in the 1950s, and the blue shows these expansion teams where baseball is going to go to, and you see the vast majority of them are going to go to this Sun Belt region in the West Coast. The other thing is this map over here shows the growth of hockey in the Sun Belt. The Dallas Stars used to be the Minnesota North Stars, so Minnesota loses a hockey team traditionally known for hockey, and it's going to go to Dallas. So it goes to show how the population moving is going to impact professional sports as well. For the economy, we're going to see an increase in the number of service sector jobs. Those are things like information, well, mostly like information type industries. Those are going to grow and those are going to expand. And what we're going to see is manufacturing jobs shrinking. The number of women in the workforce is going to continue to grow. And so one of those things that we're going to see is the trend from the 1940s to 2010 and onward is the continuing growth of service sector jobs, healthcare, those types of things. The other thing is with technology getting better, you need fewer farmers to be able to grow more food, and so you're going to see corporate farms beginning to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's a trend that's continued. Also, when you look at the number of people involved in agriculture, it's going to continue to shrink. This is 2009, but it's shrunk even more since 2009. Another factor is with the Cold War, the space race, military technologies. There's a big push to change education. And so you throw in there the GI Bill, where it gives American servicemen the opportunity economically to go. You're going to see a big boom in the number of people who go on to colleges. So the government is also going to push this through the National Defense Education Act. It's going to give $1 billion to education, especially in the field of science and engineering. And the other thing that you're going to start to see is education is democratized. And what that simply means is that you're going to have multiple layers and levels of educational opportunities. So you're going to have your 2-year junior colleges, you're going to have your state-funded colleges, and then you're going to have your universities. And so when you look at California, that's kind of this master plan that's going to be adopted across the United States, where you're going to be able to get educational opportunities for a whole variety of people, whether it's looking for trade skills like junior colleges, maybe a liberal arts degree in the state colleges, and then those that are going to be focused on like science or medical or engineering, and that's what the university system would kind of help provide. The other piece of the American economy is we're going to see more and more franchises, and we take these all for granted, but this is the era of McDonald's. You're also going to see like Holiday Inns. And so when we look at what is the appeal of these franchises, is as Americans are traveling across the country on vacation, there's something nice about pulling into a McDonald's and ordering a Big Mac, and that Big Mac is the same if you're in Decorah, Iowa, or Los Angeles, California. So that's what really the appeal of franchises are. Now you also have critics who point out the fact that there's this lack of originality, that we're losing these small mom and pop shops that are kind of unique in making the United States and make these experiences special. But franchises are going to continue to grow. And the other thing is Americans are producing half of the world's goods. What's going to happen is we are going to see more multinational corporations, these companies that are going to have headquarters and offices all over the world, and that's this global economy that began a long time ago, but it's just accelerating and getting much bigger as we kind of go. The other thing that's happening is unions are going to grow through the 1950s. Really the peak is going to be the mid-50s late 50s, and then we're going to kind of see this slow decline in labor unions. And we'll kind of talk about those trends throughout. But the AFL was a separate union and the CIO was a separate union, and they're going to join together to give them far more political clout because they realize that there's power in numbers. And one of the things that's going to lead to this falling union membership is the fact that white collar workers didn't really join unions. So service sectors don't have really labor unions. This is more of a manufacturing thing. So as fewer and fewer Americans are in manufacturing, you just have a smaller pool of people to join labor unions. And as this white collar service sector is going to continue to grow, they never really formed unions. And so there's just going to be this declining, and that's going to be one of the factors. So when we look at the U.S. in 1957, what is it that's keeping people up at night? And you can kind of see when we start talking about prosperity and anxiety, the prosperity piece, when you look at the blue over there, that's kind of really shrunk, that people aren't nearly as worried. They still kind of are a little bit, but not nearly as much as they were before. But the real big concern, the thing that's keeping them up at night is really international issues, and that's what's causing a lot of the anxiety. On top of economic uncertainty, whether there's going to be unemployment, inflation, cost of living. So even though the economy is booming, Americans aren't far enough away from the Great Depression to totally be unfearful of what could happen in the future and down the road.